In Palestine, the Israeli regime continues its attacks on civilian infrastructures and airstrike against Nuseirat refugee camp, killing at least 20 Palestinians. Brics leaders and leader of the divided Brics members condemn Israel war crimes in Gaza during an extraordinary joint meeting on the situation in the Middle East. In Thailand, the cabinet approved an amendment to the country's civil code to allow same-sex marriage. The draft is expected to be submitted to Parliament next month. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Rosabal from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Ecuador, the team of the president-elect, Daniel Noboa, is still incomplete on Tuesday, 2 days before his inauguration for a short term, in which he will face challenges in various sectors, mainly security and economy. Among the pending appointments are the Minister of Labor, the Communications and Economic and Social Inclusion, as well as the presidency of the Board of Directors of the Coordinator of Public Companies and the Directors of the Internal Revenue Service and Customs. Ecuador faces a financial crisis that worries economists, with millionaire debts to multilateral organizations and ever-increasing public expenditure. Noboa will assume the presidency until May 24, 2025, barely a year and a half to complete the mandate of Guillermo Lasso, who anticipated his departure from office with his decree of cross death applied on May 17, 2023. On Tuesday morning, President of Argentina Alberto Fernandez received President-elect Javier Milei at the presidential residence within the framework of the government transition after the victory of the Libertarian Party in last Sunday's ballot. Milei did not speak to the press on his way to the meeting. On Monday, Argentina's president-elect confirmed the weight of privatization as well as the elimination of the central bank as part of the upcoming measures. At different radio interviews, the leader of the new Argentine far-right confirmed that as from December 10th, date in which he will take on the presidency of the country, he will begin working towards the privatization of the state of the company YPF, the energy company Enarsa, and the polymedia conglomerates, in addition to the elimination of the central bank. Milei also said that he held a virtual meeting with the International Monetary Fund. Four people have died and 2 others are missing due to the torrential rains that are hitting several regions of Haiti since Saturdays. 3 of the deaths were registered in the southern region of the country and the 4th in the southeast. The missing individuals were reported in the department of Grand Anse, also in the south of Haiti. Authorities reported that most of the victims were trying to cross the swollen rivers, and the Civil Protection Department also reported that 420 houses were flooded, as well as several communes and some agricultural areas. Papua New Guinea GeoSAR Management Division announced on Tuesday that volcanic activity at Mount Ulawun has reached level 4, indicating a very strong eruption. On Monday, one of the South Pacific nation's most active volcanoes, Mount Ulawun, erupted, sweeping ash as high as 15 kilometers. Local authorities stressed that small volcanic particles in the ash plumes can be carried long distances by the wind and could threaten aviation. The eruption had prompted Japan to assess the risk of a possible tsunami on Monday, but none occurred, and the Papua New Guinea division said the threat was nil. Papua New Guinea lies in the ring of fire, the Arab seismic faults around the Pacific Ocean, where much of the world's volcanic and seismic activity occurs. Ulawun has erupted repeatedly since the 18th century, and the last major eruption in 2019 led to the evacuation of more than 5,000 people. Archaeologists have found 5 Inca mummies in the hill in a Lima neighborhood surrounded by houses and next to the training field of one of Peru's top professional soccer teams. The remains covered with plant-based vines belongs to 4 minors and adults. Luis Takuda, who has the Huaca La Florida research project, said on Monday that the mummies are about 1,000 years old. Archaeologists believe that the finds belong to the pre-Inca culture called Ishma, which is playing through the valleys of what is now Lima until it was incorporated into the Inca Empire in the late 15th century. Scholars say the cause of death of the 5 recently found mummies has not been determined. Takura said that these mummies were surrounded by pieces of lights from pottery with characteristics of the Ishma culture. Lima has more than 400 larger archaeological sites and have been scattered throughout the urban landscape and known as huacas in the indigenous Quechua language. Those constructions are on the top of the hills considered sacred places.
What we found here were some 5 complete funerary contests. That is why we are talking about the funerary bundle itself, which wrapped the dead. This is the funerary trousseau, which included ceramics. We have found complete ceramic pieces. We have also found that we are able to recover textile material associated with the funerary bundle.
Let's take a short break. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English. We'll find news in different formats, new days, and more. Our studies coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. In central Gaza, an Israeli airstrike hit Nuseirat refugee camp on Tuesday, killing at least 20 Palestinians whose bodies were recovered from the rubble and transferred to the nearby Al-Qasam Maidis hospital. Relatives held brief funeral prayers over the shrouded bodies in the hospital compound, the latest mass funeral to death toll from Israel offensive surges. At the site of the attack, dozens of people were reported missing by relatives who tried to reach for the dead bodies still trapped under the rubble, and the victims' fat field could be seen protruding from the cinder block. For the trap under the victims' feet could be seen protruding from the cinder blocks. The airstrike, as Israel intensifies ground operation in the north and heavy bombardment across the Gaza Strip. A correspondent, Noor Harasin, also spoke to local residents about their experience in southern Gaza, which, according to Israel Army, should be a safe zone.
He stayed in the incubator for a month. He was transferred abroad for emergency surgery. He asked, he implored all the brothers and the Arab countries, and no one came to this call. No one turned to him. He asked to be registered in the civil registry and at least to have a birth certificate with the name Yeha. But destiny wanted him to be a martyr, and he is alive with God. He was registered with his mother's name Asma, Abu Amra, but his known name is Yeha. Today, he is buried as the son of Asma. In his grave, his name is the son of Asma, as we will be called on the day of resurrection with the name of our mother. Here it is, even of Asma, Abu Amra. As a result of the explosion in the area, his mother was taken to the hospital and gave birth in a state of panic. And he was born with a blocked aorta. They tried to have him operated abroad in Jordan, Egypt, or the Emirates to save his life. Thank God, a whole month, and he begged everyone in the neonatal ward of Al-Qasam Martyr Hospital, and no procedure was achieved for his trouble, and no operation neither.
Alhamdulillah.
He stayed on the treatment, and the treatment is over. Yeha is already a martyr.
An Israeli bombardment of southern Lebanon has killed 2 journalists, according to Lebanese media, as hostilities were along Israel's northern border. Lebanese channel Al Mayadeen TV said an Israeli attack deliberately targeted its correspondent Farah Omar and cameraman Rabbi Mihimari, who were killed, along with the civilian contributor in southern Lebanese town of Tari Harfa. Israel Minister of Communications Shlomo Karchi said on October 13 it had begun work to Al Mayadeen's websites and programming and shut down its local offices. The Lebanese Information Minister has asked the army to open an investigation into the attack on Tuesday, Corps said, adding that this was the 3rd attack against journalists in southern Lebanon since October 13. The latest killing adds to the list 50 reporters and media workers that have been killed amid Israel war in Gaza, according to the Press Freedoms Group, the Committee to Protect Journalists. And teleSUR President Patricia Vigea stood to the social media X to condemn the murder of Al-Mayani journalists after Israeli warplanes attacked them in the team's southern Lebanon. Vigea stressed that the teleSUR community stands in solidarity with our colleagues at Al-Mayani. She also added that more than 50 journalists and some of the family have been murdered by the Israeli army amid the genocide in the Gaza Strip. The news was shared by teleSUR Special Envoy Alejandro Kirk, who stressed the journalists killed were young, kind, and very professional. Foreign Minister of Arab League Nations and Organization of Islamic Cooperation arrived in Russia to debate on the Middle East peace options. Delegations are already in Moscow for their meeting with Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who made statements on the sidelines of the encounter. According to the agenda commented by Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova, among the issues to be discussed are the urgent ceasefire and the pressing Western nations to reject the self-defense qualification with which Israel justifies the massacre of thousands of Palestinians, mostly women and children. The leader of the Brics bloc countries condemned on Tuesday the war crimes against Israel and Palestinian civilians committed in the ongoing conflict in Gaza. In a joint statement issued following the extraordinary summit of the bloc, they condemned acts of violence directed against Palestinian and Israeli civilians, including war crimes, indiscriminate attacks on those directed against civilian infrastructure, as well as acts of provocation, incitement, and destruction. In addition, the politicians stressed that civilians must be protected in accordance with international law.
Collective punishment of Palestinian civilians through the unlawful use of force by Israel is a war crime. The deliberate denial of medicine, fuel, food, and water to the residents of Gaza is tantamount to genocide. As South Africa, we call for, first, an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire. Second, the opening of humanitarian corridors so that aid and other basic services such as food and medicines.
For his part, the Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva called for an early resumption of the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. Lula said he was convinced of the potential of the Brics to mobilize political and diplomatic forces in favor of a peaceful resolution of deputies. Lula pointed out that Brazil will remain ready to support all initiatives leading to a political solution to this conflict and underscored that the credibility of the United Nations is at stake after complaining that it took 40 days since the beginning of the conflict for a resolution for the protection of children to be adopted. During the extraordinary Brics summit, Russian President Vladimir Putin blamed the United States for the latest conflict between Israel and Hamas, saying it is a direct consequence of a desire to monopolize the mediation process and asserting that the crisis is due to the sabotage of UN decisions providing for the creation of two stages.
Due to the sabotage of UN decisions, which clearly provide for the creation of a peaceful coexistence for two independent and sovereign states, Israel and Palestine, more than one generation of Palestinians have been brought up into an atmosphere of injustice towards their people, and the Israelis cannot fully guarantee the security of their state. This is terrible, and when you watch how operations are performed on children without anesthesia, it certainly evokes particular feelings. All these events, in fact, are a direct consequence of the United States' desire to monopolize the mediation process of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict resolution, and its blocking of the international mediation efforts through the Middle East Quartet.
During the webinar on the urgent medical crisis in Gaza, Dr. Ruba Myra of the Do Not Harm Coalition condemns the ongoing campaign of silence in the U.S. health establishment and politics in general.
But I have never experienced the kind of backlash that I have seen for myself and all of my colleagues speaking out with the simple phrase of stop bombing hospitals. Never seen it before. It is vicious, and it is at every level, online and within our own institutions. So to me, this brings the question, while we're watching hospitals bombed, our colleagues targeted in Palestine, not one U.S. medical institution has stepped up to say, stop bombing hospitals, even though this is a flagrant violation of international law against the Geneva Conventions that specifically protects our spaces of our healing work. Our healing work is sacred, and our workers are sacred in their duties. So why is it that no U.S. medical institution is speaking up when U.S. bombs are being dropped on these hospitals and injuring these people, specifically children, disproportionately children?
We have a second short break coming up, but before, we invite you to visit this channel, teleSUR English, where you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, sub-stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's more recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. On Tuesday, Thailand's cabinet approved an amendment to the country's civil code to allow same-sex marriage, with the draft expected to be submitted to Parliament next month. Deputy Government Spokesman Karol Polpornikant said that the amendment to the Civil and Commercial Code will change words man and woman, husband and wife to individuals, and marriage partner for same-sex couples, and husband and wife to individuals and spouses, so that the same-sex couples can receive the same right as heterosexual couples. He said the law would guarantee the right to form a family in a relationship between same-sex couples, adding that the next step will be to amend the Pension Fund Act to recognize same-sex couples as well. Prime Minister Redfa Tabisin has told reporters that the bill is expected to be submitted to Parliament on December 12th. If it becomes law after parliamentary approval, Kinmara Bajira Lagangorns, ascends Thailand will become the third place in Asia to allow same-sex marriage, after Thailand and Nepal.
In order to have a law that guarantees the right to form a family in a relationship between same-sex couples, the Ministry of Justice proposed an amendment to the Civil and Commercial Code. The main point is to change the words man and women, husband and wife, into individuals, fiancé, marriage partner, to make it inclusive.
For the first time since the accident in northern India, rescuers on Tuesday were able to see the picture of the 41 workers trapped for 10 days by the collapse of a tunnel under construction. The images were taken when an endoscopic camera played through a thin pipe that supplies oxygen, food and water to the workers. Rescue teams vowed to get them out safely. Excavators have been removing earth and debris from the collapsed tunnel since November 12th. But rescue effort had been slow due to the falling debris and repealed grid failures. Before sending up the cameras, rescue teams communicated with the trapped men by radio. In Liberia, a car plowed into a crowd supporter of politician Joseph Boakai in Monrovia on Monday night, killing at least 2 people and injuring many others. Hospital police and political sources said. Police did not display any motive for the incident, but the spokesman for Boakai's Unity Party said they believed it was a deliberate act. According to local police, the driver fled the scene. Boakai supporters were celebrating outside his party headquarters after Boakai was officially declared the winner of the presidential election. Party spokesman Muhammad Ali said it was hard to believe that the vehicle had suffered mechanical failure or that the brakes had failed. Police officer Melvin Taco confirmed the 2 deaths and added that 12 men and 4 women had been taken to the John F. Kennedy Hospital. On Monday evening, a small boat crammed with migrants capsized on the southern Italian national Lampedusa, killing a 2-year-old girl and leaving at least 8 people missing. The Italian Coast Guard and fishermen who were in the area when the boat hit some rocks before capsizing saved 43 other people. Most of those rescued were from Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, and Mali, and are departed from Sfax in Tunisia. Survivors of rescuers that at least 8 people who were abroad were missing, including 2 children. Meanwhile, a fishing boat with 400 migrants on board disembarked at the commercial port of Lampedusa after being escorted by the local Coast Guard. On Monday in the United States, the United Auto Workers Union confirmed that 64 of its members voted in favor of the important agreement reached with the 3 largest automakers in the country. After 6 weeks of strike actions, the workers reached what many consider to be a historic agreement with Ford, Stellantis, and General Motors. Although details of the temporary settlement have not been released, it is known that they will receive cumulative hourly wages increases of about 27%. Retirement benefits could increase by as much as 10%, and all union members will receive annual cost of living adjustments based on the rate of inflation. On Monday, Sean Fain, president of the United Automobile Workers Union, during an interview with the U.S. local media, denounced the gap between rich and poor and expressed that it's up to the organized workers to lead a movement for better working conditions.
There's this massive chasm between the billionaire class and the working class, and when those things get out of balance, we need to turn it upside down. When 26 billionaires have as much wealth as half of humanity, that's a crisis. And it's our issues, whether it's UAW, it's working class issues, whether you're union or not. Everyone identifies with what's going on right now. People in unions and working class people that aren't in unions, are literally scraping to get by. They're working 7 days a week, 12 and 16 hours a day, multiple jobs, not to save money, just to scrape to get by. And so it's time. I think it's way past time. And it's up to organized labor to lead that movement.
And we have come to the end of this brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We are pleased to share our newscasts and contribute to provide an alternative news source of the latest world events. And you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Ana Rosabal. Thank you for watching.